Speaker, I know the whole House will join me in sending their heartfelt sympathies and condolences to the family of David Brown from Eston, who, aged just 18, took his own life. The inquest into his death has heard that he did so on the day he was due to sign on at the job centre, after saying that he felt belittled by staff, despite actively looking for work and seeking an apprenticeship. Shortly before taking his own life, he told his mum, "The way the job centre treat people, it's no surprise people commit suicide." Will the Leader of the House undertake a review into this individual case, but will he also undertake to take stock of 6 years of brutal welfare reform and look at the way the DWP treats its most vulnerable constituents, particularly young people?
Mr. Speaker, can I first also express unreserved sympathy for the family of David Brown? No parent, no family should have to go through that kind of shocking experience. Now, clearly, human beings in any organisation sometimes take decisions that get things wrong, and I will ask the Work and Pensions Department to have a look at the particular case that she has described. But I do have to say to her that I think the principle remains right, that while staff should always behave with courtesy towards people seeking to claim benefits, it is also right that we should expect people who are receiving benefits to be subject to the kind of disciplines that apply to people in work even if they are on low pay. There is a principle of fairness here that is what lies behind the approach that DWP takes.
This week, Mr. Speaker, Oxford University studies found that there's a direct link between rising levels of benefit sanctions and rising demand for food banks. 1 million people accessed a food bank last year to receive a food parcel. Only 40,000 did so in 2010. I welcome the government's promise to review the work capability assessment for disabled people, but will she further commit to reviewing the whole punitive sanctions regime?
It is absolutely right that in our welfare system we have a system that makes sure that those people who receive benefits are those who it is right to receive benefits. Well, that's why we have assessments in our welfare system. But it's also important in our welfare system that we ensure that those who are able to get into the workplace are making every effort to get into the workplace. That's why we have sanctions in our system. What the right honourable gentleman wants is no assessments, no sanctions and unlimited welfare. That's not fair to those who are accessing the welfare system, and it's not fair to the taxpayers who pay for it.
Mr. Speaker, according to the Sheffield Hallam University study, 1 in 5 claimants that have been sanctioned became homeless as a result of it. Many of those included families with children. Mr. Speaker, could I recommend the Prime Minister supports British cinema and takes herself along to a cinema to see a Palme d'Or winning film, I, Daniel Blake? And while she's doing so, perhaps she could take the Work and Pensions Secretary with her, because he described the film as monstrously unfair and then went on to admit that he'd never seen it. So he's obviously got a very fair sense of judgment on this. But I'll tell the Prime Minister what's monstrously unfair. Ex-servicemen like David Clapson dying without food in his home due to the government's sanctions regime. It is time that we ended this institutionalised barbarity against often very vulnerable people.
The choice in this general election could not be clearer. It's between a Labour Party that will stand for the many and a Conservative Party which only looks after the privileged few. Under the Tories, our NHS and social care has been pushed into a state of emergency. Our children's education has been hit hard by Tory cuts. The result has been more unqualified teachers and larger classes. The Conservatives have left us with the lowest rate of home ownership in a generation. 200,000 fewer homeowners than in 2010. And they've shown they don't care about our safety. They promised to protect our local police forces, and yet over 20,000 officers have been cut since 2010. Britain needs a government that looks out for everyone, not just a privileged few. The Tories have spent the past 7 years giving the super-rich tax handouts worth tens of billions of pounds, while working families are set to be, on average, over £1,400 a year worse off. And as for Brexit, the British people have made their decision. So now we need to negotiate a deal that protects jobs and the economy. But the Tories want to use Brexit to turn Britain into a low-wage tax haven for big business, putting millions of jobs at risk. Labour is the only party that can be trusted to put the interests of working people first in the Brexit negotiations. This general election is our chance for a fresh start with a Labour government. Instead of a country run for the richest, Labour wants to see one in which all of us can lead richer lives. The fairer Britain in which no one is held back. A Labour government will invest to create shared prosperity. They will invest in infrastructure, skills, new technology and the green industries for the future. And in every region and nation of our country. Labour will protect our public services, give the NHS the funding it needs and ensure good teaching in good schools for all our children. With Jeremy Corbyn, Labour will stand up for you. They will deliver a better, fairer Britain where prosperity is shared, where everyone is rewarded fairly for their work and where a home to rent or buy is affordable. Labour will build a Britain for the many, not the few.